What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of The 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. I don't think I'm alone when I say that I've been really hopeful of a continuation of the Dragon Age series, guys. And now, Dragon Age 4 being, the latest game in the franchise that would be the continuation of this main story going forward. And so, what I want to talk about in this first segment of the show is where is Dragon Age 4 at this point, and when can we expect this game to maybe come out, if at all? So let's talk about it. So, guys, obviously, BioWare, the creators of the Dragon Age as of late, this developer, what they ended up doing, guys, was they actually canceled Dragon Age 4 back in 2017 to go ahead and bring more hands on deck, or I should say really all hands on deck, on their latest installment of Anthem. And that being said, guys, Anthem, of course, we all know, was not a very well-received game by any stretch of the imagination, so it kind of felt like BioWare was almost going all in on a title that ended up not doing so well for them, unfortunately. Now, what I'll say about that is BioWare felt that Anthem was going to be similar to that of like Mass Effect, and it was going to be kind of like a spiritual successor to other games, and they felt that they really thought they had something there. And I actually think, guys, that Anthem did have some things underneath all of the stuff that we didn't enjoy about the game. I thought that there was something special there, even though you don't really see that at the end of the day because of everything else that's so glaringly wrong with the game. But that being said, what's the next move for BioWare? I mean, we could always say Mass Effect, guys, which obviously I think Mass Effect is a game in which many of us want to see continuation of, but Dragon Age is another one that I would love to see a continuation of at some point or another. And I don't think BioWare has forgotten about Dragon Age 4 at this point, but I think it was just put on the back burner due to, of course, Anthem. So where are we at as far as this timeline is concerned of when would this game ever come out, if it does? And I think, guys, Dragon Age, when you look at the history of this title, it's obviously done very well. Let's put it that way. It's done very well as far as building up a fan base in a major way. And this is something that I think a lot of fans are really hoping for, is that continuation of Dragon Age at some point or another. For me, I just want them to take their time with Dragon Age 4. Obviously, I want them to start working on it, but there's other games, guys, that we want, these developers to work on. That being, some people do want another Anthem game. Some people want another Mass Effect. And so the question is how do they prioritize? And I think that Dragon Age, since it was going to be, in like the early stages of development, then they, canceled it to put all hands on deck with Anthem, which of course was their latest game. I would say, guys, that Dragon Age has obviously been postponed indefinitely at this point. Most likely, they are actually probably working on another Mass Effect game, and then following that, potentially Dragon Age. So I think we might be years away from a Dragon Age when we actually would have probably gotten a Dragon Age 4 much sooner. But instead, guys, we got Anthem. And look, at the end of the day, as long as we get another Dragon Age, because I think that the story, it deserves to have a continuation, because they're really starting to build a following here around this franchise. So I think it's important that they continue this franchise and they kind of move it forward at some point, whenever they feel comfortable moving forward, that is. And so I think Mass Effect, as well as maybe a potential Anthem 2, which I don't think that they would do at this point, but I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that in the comment section below. Do you think BioWare would make a second Anthem at this point? It's hard to say. I don't think that they would make one anytime in the foreseeable future, because probably they need to focus on just making Anthem as good as they can possibly make that first. And after that point, they kind of regain a lot of people's trust, then they can move on to the second game. So I would say, guys, after Mass Effect is when we can probably expect a Dragon Age 4. And so when might that be? Well, Mass Effect 4, I think we can all agree, is most likely going to be coming out in the next few years, most likely. And obviously, guys, the timeline might be off here, but I'm going to give it a few years for Mass Effect 4 to come out, and then probably 2 to 3 years years after that having a Dragon Age 4 come out. So I'm saying, guys, probably within the next 5 to 8 years is when we would see Dragon Age. But at the end of the day, where is Dragon Age 4? Guys, it was canceled indefinitely due to Anthem. And that's pretty much the very short answer here to what happened to Dragon Age 4. And now, all we can really look forward to is when we might see a continuation of this franchise. And I would say that we're still quite a number of years off from the game coming out, because if they had something there with Dragon Age 4, they wouldn't have canceled it to put everybody on deck with Anthem, unless they felt that Anthem, they really had something there and they just wanted everybody to be hands on deck with that. At the same time, Dragon Age 4 might be one of those games that they've already got the initial concepts done, so maybe after Anthem, they started working on Dragon Age 4, but it sounds like the word is that more and more people, and they're starting to ramp up the talks of Mass Effect, and then following that would probably be a Dragon Age 4 at that point. But I would love to hear from you guys. Where do you guys think Dragon Age 4 is at this point? Do you think it's in the early stages of development? Do you think it's almost done? Do you think it's completely, basically back to square one with this game? And do you think it's going to be on an indefinite hiatus, at least for the foreseeable future? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And for more Dragon Age 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. When we talk about the big three in gaming, I always talk about Gears of War, Call of Duty, and StarCraft. And those are my big three, guys. Everyone out there has their big three as far as their favorite three franchises in the entire gaming world. And StarCraft, guys, is obviously, just one of those games that is, in my opinion, it takes some of the most skill in all of gaming to really master. And so I have been clamoring and hoping for a continuation of this franchise moving forward, and there's been more rumblings. There's been us as a community that we've been really trying to talk this thing into existence and get StarCraft 3 made, because I think, guys, that when you look at the totality of the gaming landscape, it's time for the real-time strategy genre to kind of become something, kind of come back to the forefront in a major way. And I think a StarCraft 3 could absolutely do that, because StarCraft 2 did so many things for not only gaming but also esports. And so I think it's really important that this is a title that ends up happening sooner rather than later. I think, coming up on the 10-year anniversary, or, actually really more so than 10 years at this point, of StarCraft 2, celebrating StarCraft 2 in such a, a major way, and just StarCraft as an entire franchise. It seems like every 10 years is when you can kind of expect another game in the StarCraft universe. And obviously the other two franchises I love, that being Call of Duty and Gears of War, we've gotten a ton of continuations of those franchises ever since StarCraft 2 came out. So I've been really hoping that we get a StarCraft 3, or at least some news on it at some point in the foreseeable future. But in this segment of the show, guys, I want to talk about the top 5 things that we want in StarCraft 3. And when I say we, I'm talking mainly about myself here, but I know some of you are going to share the same opinions. And if you don't, let me know what your top 5 things are in the comment section down below. So coming in at number 1, guys, I would like one of two things to happen with the overall story of StarCraft 3. That be, I would like it to either be a brand new story altogether, or they go ahead and they just finish out the trilogy and kind of make it a trilogy of story modes within, of course, the first few games here. I'd like them to do one of those things. I would almost prefer them going ahead and just doing a completely new story altogether. I feel like Kerrigan and John Raynor's, their story is kind of concluded somewhat. They maybe could go one more game, but I think it might be smart just to go on to, some other planets. I feel like this universe has so much to explore still, and that's why I wouldn't mind just seeing a completely new story altogether that's in, of course, the same universe, and maybe there's things that are familiar to us, whether that be characters, whatever the case might be. But I feel that we can all agree that one thing that StarCraft isn't their strong point is not the campaign. Sometimes the dialogue is kind of cheesy, and some of the characters, are somewhat, kind of goofy at times. I think that maybe going a different direction with the story altogether in StarCraft 3 would be a good idea. But I would be up to either round out the trilogy that they've started and really close, open up some new doors, maybe, showing Raynor and some of these characters, passing the torch on to new characters for the next generation of the StarCraft games, or you just completely go in a new direction altogether. But with that being said, that's kind of my number one thing. My number two thing, guys, is overall, I think one of the best things about StarCraft is the diversity between the races that are here. You got the Protoss, the Zerg, and the Terran. The gods, the humans, and the alien races is kind of how I put it down, put it in perspective. But what I think would be really great for StarCraft 3 would be adding a new race. And we've talked about this on the YouTube channel, guys. You guys can check out all of my StarCraft 3 content here on the YouTube channel. We've talked about a hybrid race would be something I would absolutely love. Whether that means the Zerg is kind of turned into a hybrid race, or you make the hybrid race a completely new race altogether. So instead of having 3 races, you would have 4, making it, diversify the series somewhat. I think it could add some very interesting elements to it. But nonetheless, it would be interesting to see maybe the Zerg or even the Protoss or Terran kind of turn into what becomes, the hybrid race. It would make most sense to me with the Zerg because of with Kerrigan and, what happens at the end of, the series, or I should say of StarCraft 2 with Kerrigan. It'd be interesting to see like they transform somewhat into the hybrid race. But nonetheless, I think even adding a new race altogether would be a really good idea. Coming in at number 3, guys, I believe that one thing that really separates StarCraft from all the other esports titles out there is that StarCraft has become like the tennis of esports. When I think of tennis, guys, this is a sport that, in my opinion, takes the most skill out of any sport in the world because you're by yourself. All the pressure is on you to deliver, and you have to have a little bit of everything in your arsenal in order to obtain victory in tennis. That being, obviously, guys, you got to be in incredible shape as an athlete. You have to have very good precision and aim. You have to your hand-eye coordination has to be on point, and you gotta be quick. And so with StarCraft, if you think about it, this is a game where you're doing many things at once, and it really takes a lot out of you throughout the course of a series in the esports realm. But with that being said, I would like them to put more emphasis on team-based StarCraft over the 1v1. Now, I think 1v1 is great. It definitely should not go away. But I believe in order to see the continued growth of StarCraft as a franchise, we're going to need to see them evolve the StarCraft esports scene a little bit. And one of those being more emphasis on Team StarCraft. And so when you look at all the the landscape as a whole, guys, when it comes to esports as a whole, we can see that the most popular games out there are all team-based games. And it's just because spectators like watching team-based games more so than they would the 1v1 games. Now, there are other games out there, guys, like Madden and games of that nature that, of course, still draw an audience, and they're 1v1. But I think with StarCraft, having 1v1 is, still a core of the esports scene for them. They should continue that, but also start adding the team base because I think it could take us to the next level. Coming in at number 4, guys, I believe one of the biggest things that we've seen as of, today and just with the recent success of Call of Duty Warzone and Fortnite, Apex Legends, what do all these games have in common? They're free to play. And so with number 4, guys, I think StarCraft 3 should be free to play. It's going to build the fan base in a major way. A lot of people at least, are going to at least try the game out. And so I think that's really important. When StarCraft 2 went free to play, it actually helped the fan base and helped build this thing, and kind of go to that next level. But I think if you started with StarCraft 3 as a free to play game, and have more customizations and things of that nature, to help the game. You can buy skins, you can buy things in game, and it's justifiable because it's a free to play game, right? And so having the battle pass and things of that nature to go towards, all those profits are going towards, whether it's the esports scene or it goes back to the developer. I think StarCraft 3 is primed to be a free to play game, and it could really help globally in a major way this game continue to grow. And then rounding it out, guys, coming in at number 5, I believe one of the big things also in gaming, I've always talked about, package deals, having the campaign, having multiplayer modes as well as co-op modes. And so number 5, I'd love to see some extra co-op missions that you can play with your friends. And I would also like to see, as far as, kind of having those side missions or having different ways you can connect with the franchise. One of those being, I would love to see at least some initial concepts for a first-person shooter StarCraft game mode. I think that would be something very interesting that they could test out to see what people think of a first-person shooter StarCraft game. Because if you think about it, guys, we've had 2 first-person shooter StarCraft games get canceled in the past. I think adding a game mode that is a first-person shooter within the StarCraft universe, whether you can play with your friends or by yourself, I think they would at least get an idea as to what people think about the first-person shooter StarCraft game, and then maybe moving forward they can do a completely new first-person shooter StarCraft game, which we all know that shooters are very popular right now. And I think in the StarCraft universe it could be something kind of like Halo, or it could be something even similar to like even Call of Duty and Battlefield, who knows. But I think they could at least kind of add that into the mix into StarCraft 3. So those are the 5 things, guys, that I want to see in StarCraft 3. I mean, there's a lot of other things, guys, that we could talk about ad nauseum about StarCraft 3 that we want to see in the next installment of this series, but I'd love to hear from all of you. What do you guys want to see in StarCraft 3? Are your top 5 things similar to mine, or are they different? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more StarCraft 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. When LA Noire released all the way back in 2011, guys, I gotta say, when I saw the marketing and things of that nature from Rockstar, the only thing that intrigued me about the game was that it's a Rockstar game. And so that was something that kind of got me to actually want to play the game, even though I didn't think it looked that good from just the marketing perspective. It looked like it had really good graphics, but it didn't look like a very exciting story. It kind of looked like a dull story. And then when I picked up my copy of the game, and I played it years after the initial release of the game, I actually really enjoyed it. It was a very chill kind of game, but you still had to pay attention to what was going on, like, choosing different, answers or questions when you're interrogating different people within the game. And so there was a level of, just kind of a very, calm atmosphere, but there was also at times you had to really use your head, and there was a lot of, other action sequences as well throughout the course of the story. So what I want to talk about here in this segment of the show is LA Noire 2 and why this game should exist. So let's talk about it. So as I said, guys, LA Noire was not a game that I was really excited about, but then when I got my hands on it, I started playing it, I really enjoyed it. It was like just it wasn't one of my favorite Rockstar games, but it was still a game that I enjoyed nonetheless, and I believe that it definitely was a game that I was very happy that it's within and it coexists with other games out there, out there in the gaming landscape. And so I think it's unique as well to its specific genre, right? And I think that a continuation of this is something I would love to see. LA Noire 2, guys, the reason why it should exist is because it's different. It's a different type of game, and I think that they kind of had they laid a foundation with LA Noire, and I think the second one could go, kind of ramp it up a little bit. Whether you decided to go ahead and kind of just continue right from where LA Noire, the first one, left off, or you wanted to go way into the future or into modern day, or you wanted to go in the past, they probably could really go in any direction they possibly wanted. And I think that knowing Rockstar, they probably wouldn't do a direct continuation from the first one, but it's of course very much so possible. But I think that having LA Noire 2 come out at some point in the future, when this game may come out, it would probably be, it might be quite a ways off at this point, guys, because of obviously GTA 6 is going to be coming out, at least it's rumored that that's going to be the next game coming out from Rockstar, and then Max Payne 4 is, rumored to be the next one to come out after that, and then potentially LA Noire 2, or Bully, even though Bully got canceled. So it's hard to say where they're going to go with this, because they could easily just say, we're going to do GTA 6, we're going to do Red Dead Redemption 3, we're going to do Max Payne 4, we maybe come back to Bully 2, or we come back to Manhunt, or, LA Noire. They have a lot of options options here, but I think that we know that their biggest franchises are obviously, GTA and Red Dead Redemption. And then under that, you've got like LA Noire, Max Payne, even Bully's up there. So it's hard to say when this game may come out. But I do think nonetheless, no matter how long we have to wait for it, even though it's been years upon years at this point since we saw a continuation of LA Noire, I think that we very well may see it at some point or another, guys. I think that there was enough good, reception of this game. Having like 4.4 out of 5s from GameStop, having like, I think it's 9 out of 10 on Steam. Very good ratings overall, guys, all across the board. And it sold well as well. All Rockstar games, they all sell well, right? So I think it's important that this game does come back at some point or another, even if it's after GTA 6, after Max Payne 4, even if it takes like a number of years until it would come out. I think it deserves to come out because it's unique. It's a unique kind of game, and I don't really think that Rockstar ever planned on it just being a solo game. They had planned on making this a franchise of one sort or another, and so there's been a lot of rumor and talks over at Rockstar that LA Noire 2, they would certainly be open to it. But I think, guys, that this game deserves to exist, not only from the story perspective, but even what they could do, moving forward. If they wanted to add multiplayer modes, if they wanted to add, more co-op modes and things of that nature to really bring people back in to the franchise after beating the single-player story. I've always said it, having a full package deal is a very good idea, and I think they could absolutely do that with this franchise. But let me know, guys, would you guys want to see a continuation of the LA Noire franchise, or are there just other games from Rockstar Games that you would rather see them do? Let me know in the comment section below, and for more LA Noire 2 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Another game from Rockstar Games that is one of my favorite franchises, guys, is Max Payne. Absolutely love this franchise, and I've talked about it many times here on the YouTube channel. You can see all the Max Payne 4 content that we've talked about in the past, and just Max Payne in general. This is one of the first franchises I ever played on the original Xbox, guys. The very first Max Payne, and then of course, the second Max Payne game that came out, which weren't by Rockstar Games. Rockstar came into the fray in Max Payne 3 and was very successful. And so now we've been wondering, are they going to make a Max Payne 4? There's been a lot of rumor, there's been a lot of different, people, talking about Max Payne 4, or really whatever the next games are going to be by Rockstar Games. And I want to talk about everything that we want in Max Payne 4. And this is going based on some of the things that you guys have said and expressed out there that you guys want in a Max Payne 4. And then I'll give you guys some of my opinions as well. And if you don't agree with them, which I'm sure some of the things you're not going to, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. So number one, guys, Max Payne 4, I look at this franchise and you think, okay, the title is Max Payne. So what is a Max Payne game without Max Payne himself? Well, the interesting part of this, guys, is there's a lot of different ways that they could incorporate in the Max Payne franchise, and Max Payne 4 in particular, kind of having a character that, being Max Payne, as he's getting older, we find out new things about Max Payne, whether, whatever it might be. There could be a million different things about Max Payne that we actually don't know at this point, because I believe there's still so much in the story as a whole that we may very well just not know about Max Payne at this point. So at the end of the day, what could Max Payne 4 be? Well, it could be a prequel, guys, to the first Max Payne game out there. It could go all the way back to when he was younger, and we start seeing and getting to know Max even more and more. And then at the end of Max Payne 4, it's almost like he passes the torch on to another character. Similar to what happened in the Gears of War franchise. You had 3 games, of course, with Marcus Phoenix as the main character, and then you get to Gears 4, and it's like Marcus passes the torch on to his son, JD, and then JD, of course, passed the torch on to Kate Diaz in Gears 5, and there you go. Who knows where the story's going to go from here, but Marcus is still in the story at this point, because you really would look at Gears of War and you think, oh yeah, Marcus Phoenix. That's like the first thing that comes to your mind at that point. But they did it in a way that it was okay to pass the torch. It was like you accepted it. And so I think in Max Payne, they could do the exact same kind of thing where you can pass the torch on to, whether it's a family member of Max Payne's, whether it's, somebody totally different, someone who actually he works with in Max Payne 4. Who knows? I think that Rockstar could absolutely do something pretty special here. I mean, if you think about it, Red Dead Redemption 2 didn't feature John Marston. You know, it's featuring new characters. And so it's almost like, you know, with one character that you absolutely grow to love, a lot of times that torch can be passed from one character to another throughout the course of these franchises to help continue them moving forward. And so Max Payne 4, I think, absolutely, we could see at the end of the story, he passes the torch on to someone else. And I'd be totally cool with that, because then we could see a continuation in one way, shape, or form into like Max Payne 5. Then, guys, I would say one of the big things for me with Max Payne 3 that I didn't like compared to like the very original Max Payne game was that it was more bright. I mean, the colors were great, the graphics were great, but I like that dark, gritty feel. Everything that happens in one night of Max Payne's life, all this, you know, has all these problems, you know, with his family getting killed, and then he's going out for revenge and such in the first game. It was just very much so the snow and the, you know, just the gritty, like, you know, color palette, the, you know, the different buildings that you would go into, just very much so a kind of reminds me of like Death Sentence, the movie Death Sentence, and I like that feel for Max Payne. It kind of got a little bit brighter in Max Payne 4, or Max Payne 3, and that was okay. I still loved the game, don't get me wrong, but I'd like to go back to kind of a gritty, dark story to kind of round out and kind of bring everything full circle, so to speak, in this franchise. Then, guys, I would love to see a Max Payne Online. I mean, look at Rockstar Games and what they've done with GTA Online and Red Dead Online. I would love to see a Max Payne Online, guys, where they've had multiplayer in Max Payne 3, but I think that this would take it to the next level. Having Max Payne Online, I think it's primed for it, guys. I think it could be something really special. More ways than one to connect with the franchise is incredibly important. Having multiplayer in Max Payne 4 would be absolutely that. Having ways and earnable items, guys. Having different things that you can do within the Max Payne world. Connecting with, you know, whether it's different characters or just connecting in general. I think it's just really important that Max Payne Online is the next big online mode, I should say, that Rockstar does. Next, guys, I would say co-op modes. I think it's important, guys, if you're starting to introduce new characters in the single-player story, I think it's important that you also have, you know, those playable characters, whether we're talking multiplayer or we're talking in co-op modes. Having co-op modes in Max Payne 4, I think would be great. It's just more ways you can connect with the story, having like co-op missions. Whatever the case might be, I think that could be something really special moving into Max Payne 4. So all in all, guys, at this point, the things that I think that we want are obviously a continuation or just a very early, you know, prequel from the original Max Payne. And then on top of that, guys, having more multiplayer modes, but having like an online would be absolutely awesome for, you know, a Max Payne Online similar to Red Dead Online and GTA Online. But of course, it's all Max Payne. And then, of course, having co-op modes, I think, is really important. Having other ways, guys, that you can connect with the franchise, I think, is really important. And rounding it all out, I would say, guys, having even a semi to full open world story for Max Payne would be really interesting. I mean, you look at GTA, you look at Red Dead, and just how popular those games are being, you know, open world settings. And I think Max Payne, we've never had that before. Having an open world setting or even just a semi-open world setting could be something incredibly special for this franchise. Just more ways and making the world feel more real. So those are what I think, guys, and things that I would want to see in Max Payne 4. What would you want to see in Max Payne 4? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Max Payne 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.